Hello there, Taurus. Welcome back. We're going to do a deep dive for you. This is going to cover main themes or a main theme, one or the other, over the next 28 days or month or so, something along those lines. We are going to start with 5 topic cards coming out of the Gilded Lenormand, which I'm shuffling right now. I've already shuffled my vice versa tarot, which is what we'll do we'll take that deck to expand on what shows up on the Lenormand. And then after we look at the vice versa, then we'll use the Raven Dream Tarot to look for best advice or heads up around the situation that we have expanded on at that point. So let's buckle up and see what shows up on the table today for Taurus. By the way, Taurus is my rising sign, so I'm right here with you guys. So we're starting off with the moon, which in the Lenormand talks about reflection or maybe even doing something in the moonlight or at nighttime. Second topic is the cross. This can be about a decision, a more impactful decision that impacts a longer time, or it can be about some kind of difficult burden. Third topic, we have the tower. The tower can have to do something with either government or big business. And when I say government, this can be anything from, the capital of the country all the way down to the schools. If there's government health in your country, this could be that. This can be schools, libraries, police offices, firemen's buildings. So anything that might be related with the government or something with big companies. Let's see what else we get. Third topic, we have the letter. A lot of times this letter can be something that is like a contract. We can see the wax seal on the envelope there on that card. Doesn't have to be an actual contract, but sometimes it does indicate a legal and binding contract. We'll see what else comes up when we expand on that. And then last topic we have is the bear. And the bear can be us and how we are acting in this situation. So we'll see about that. It also can be somebody who has a position of authority in our lives and somebody who is protective of us or looks out for our safety and well-being. So this could be a boss. A lot of times the bear, we kind of look at that and we kind of think mama bear, very protective of the little ones, that type of energy. But sometimes it is also a boss or a supervisor, somebody who would feel the load or the responsibility of making sure that their people who work well for them are provided for in a good way as well, which a lot of small businesses, the owners have that kind of responsibility that weighs heavy on them many times. I think we get away from that in some of the bigger companies. But so it could be that. It could be somebody else that feels possessive of you too. This could be somebody who feels like romantically possessive of you. This could be you feeling all this responsibility or feeling possessive of somebody in your life. And we'll know more as we look at more of these cards and get this all expanded out. Okay, so Taurus. Let's go ahead and get started. And I pull cards from this deck, even though there's no front or back. You can see from this card there's no back. The way I pull from this deck is the way I pull from my decks any other time. And how I always do that, generally, unless a card comes flying out, what I do is I take from the top, and as I take it, I flip it over. So that would be how we're going to continue to pull, just as if there really were backs on these tarot cards. But right now we're going to set these off to the side, and we're going to focus really on that moon and find out more about this. Is this like, whoops, I need to stay in the camera. Is this like a job that we're moonlighting at? Is this reflection? And if it's reflection, is it us reflecting on ourselves? Are we reflecting somebody back to themselves? What is going on with this moon card? What do my Taurians need to know about this moon card, please? What do we have? Okay. All right. So with this moon card there, what we're reflecting on is this idea that there's somebody within our family, our household, or our tribe who has kind of dropped the ball on some of the responsibilities that they've had. And we're feeling disappointed by this. And so I think that I think with this reflection, we may really be thinking about, am I just triggered? Or is this something that really is disappointing? Did I have unreasonable expectations for this person? Or did I have reasonable expectations and they really did something that was not easily acceptable? Okay. With that Five of Cups, whatever has happened, we're definitely feeling disappointed. Let's see our best advice or our insight around this situation. Moon can talk about, feelings, sometimes even being triggered. So right now, I'm not sure if we were actually triggered into feeling disappointed or if this disappointment is, a sane and logical response to whatever has happened here, to them setting down some of their responsibilities. So what's best advice or insight here? We have the Eight of Swords, so this is about thinking and overthinking. Six of Pentacles. We're thinking and overthinking what is actually reciprocal. What is really reciprocal? And with the Queen of Cups, we are not only thinking, with that Eight of Swords, we're doing a lot of thinking about what is actually reciprocal between us and this person who has, let down some of those responsibilities. With the Queen of Cups, we're realizing that, I think what we're realizing is that the thinking really isn't getting us anywhere. It's the empathy and the sympathy and the affection, our emotions that are going to get us where we need to be in this situation to help us figure out, okay, what is really an appropriate reaction here? And is the reaction that I'm having, is that a triggered one or is that an appropriate one? And so we may be doing actually some self-work here, but we want things to be reciprocal. And I think the reason that we're having trouble with this is because we feel like this person is not being reciprocal whenever they let down some of their responsibilities. And so this is going to take a calm looking at. So the Queen of Cups is very much aware of her emotions, but the emotions don't run her. She's very much aware of them. And so she can look inside and see, okay, am I being triggered, or is this something that is, a sane and logical reaction, like I said a few minutes ago. And I think that's what you're going to do. You're going to really think things over about what do I really want from this person and from this scenario, and then realize I want something that's reciprocal. And then I think you're going to be allowing yourself to come at this from a calm place. And I think you're allowing yourself to, because look how she's kind of got a couple of things that she's offering. She's offering her emotions. She's also offering this, it kind of looks like a wand, sort of, a baton, something. And so she's offering, maybe it's a talking stick. Maybe she's saying, okay, tell me what's going on with you. What is happening? And let's talk about this and let's see if we can make this into something that is even and reciprocal. That's what I'm going to go with. I think she's got a talking stick. She wants to know, what is this person who let down that responsibilities? What's his story? What's the deal? What's going on behind that? So that's our best advice or our insight around this. But first we have to kind of figure out, oh, that kind of hurt. Was that because we're triggered, or is that the real deal? And then we have to figure out, what do we actually want from this situation, whatever kind of relationship it is, friendship, romantic, family, whatever. Oh, we want something that's reciprocal. Okay, well, now we can have the conversation that talks about how we feel about things, because we already know what we want, and what we want is guiding how we feel about the situation. And we also want to know, how is this person feeling about things? What is motivating this person here? Is there a happy medium that we can find? Okay, so that's our first topic or theme. Let's see what else we have. Sometimes these tie in together pretty strongly because, the topics and themes going on in our life do interact with each other. So we have this crossroads. We have some kind of difficult decision to make here with this next topic, I feel like. We're going to see what the cards have to say. If the cards, reflect that this is a decision, or if the cards tell me, Amista, you're missing it, and set us on the right track or not. Let's see what we have. La da da da. La da da da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Okay. We've definitely been thinking about some kind of difficult decision here with this Four of Swords coming up in reverse. This is a difficult decision that we're looking at. It's interesting because with the Ace of Wands in reverse, I think we've known that we need to make this decision, but we're procrastinating on making it. Or at least we've known that by the time we get to this point in time where this is in front of us. We're recognizing that we've procrastinated as long as we can on making this decision because it is difficult. All right? And this may very well have to do with our person that we had to have that conversation with. With the Four of Swords coming up in reverse, this talks about, that I've stepped back away from the situation. I've tried to look at things logically. I've tried to rest and rejuvenate. I've tried to look at, am I reacting or am I responding? We've kind of gone through everything that we can to make sure that we're in a good place to deal with this. And with the Temperance card coming up, that side in reverse, even after doing all of that, we're still impatient around this decision. It's almost like, yes, we've procrastinated on the decision and we know that, and we know we need to make it, and we're trying to get into a headspace where we can make this decision. But I think we're also impatient with ourselves here because it's taking longer than we think that it should to get into that headspace, even though we've tried to rest and rejuvenate, we've tried to look at it objectively. I think we're still kind of procrastinating on it, and we're kind of impatient with ourselves for procrastinating on it, but we've definitely got some kind of blockage happening that's keeping us from deciding one way or the other about this difficult decision, which I think probably ties into our person where we want a reciprocal relationship, whatever type of relationship we have with that person. All right, so let's look at best advice or heads up here. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. Okay, so Lover is coming up in reverse. I think we've probably known that this is a decision where we know we have to step away from something or step away from somebody. We're just not on the same page with them anymore. Maybe we've outgrown them. Maybe they've outgrown us. But we're not on the same page anymore. And I think that even though we've procrastinated on this decision and we've tried to get ourselves to hurry up with it, I think the reason we're procrastinating is because we know that eventually we have to decide to separate from this other person that we've considered ourselves a partner with for a while. Seven of Swords in reverse talks about this idea of going back into a sort of a quiet, reflective place, going back to the drawing board, basically coming up with a new strategy or a new plan. And the Ace of Wands says that we just really don't want to do this. We just don't have the energy for this. So I think after we take the time to think this through, I think we realize we have to come apart from this other person that we've considered a partner, that, things are not reciprocal anymore and we want reciprocal things. And I think we have to kind of go back to the drawing board and sort of reorganize our life or re-strategize what we want our life to look like, which really gives us a strong implication here that maybe this other person is not able to meet us halfway. They're not in that place to give us some kind of reciprocal relationship. And the Ace of Wands in reverse says, man, gosh, this is hard. I think this is hard emotionally. The Ace of Wands talks about, I don't have any energy. See, we saw this here. It was procrastination. This is not having any energy. Same thing. We've come apart from this person. It wasn't easy, but we still don't have a whole lot of energy because that was difficult. The idea of making this decision was difficult. The idea of enacting it is just as difficult here. All right. I want to dive into this a little bit more. Was this a good idea to come away from this partnership? Is this really a good idea for Taurus at this point in time? And if not, then what would be a better idea? So I really don't like feeling like we have no energy, because that tells us that we're not really, our head and our heart are not in alignment on that decision. So this basically is a tie. What I've got on the table here, this says that there are pros and cons. Let me move me so you can see more of those cards. So Seven of Cups talks about really focusing on what our intuition is telling us is the way to go. The Nine of Pentacles talks about doing something independently and self-sufficiently. So I think that we should be focusing on what our intuition is telling us and not listening to what other people have to say. It's not their business. They need to keep their noses attached to their face. The Eight of Cups talks about a walk away. And so this is actually what we're asking about. So this is just Spirit saying, yes, I hear your question. And the Page of Swords in reverse basically says we want to make sure before we walk away that this is really, really, really what we want to do, so that we don't have regrets later on and try to figure out if we can come back. Okay. So the way the energy sits, I see us walking away, but I don't see us feeling good about it. And with this says, this really implies to me that we may be walking away because of what other people are saying to us, other people talking in our ear. Why are you sticking around for this? And they may not understand the situation the way that we do. We're right in the middle of the situation. We're in the middle of all these details that maybe other people just don't understand or see. But we have that front row seat for them. So I would say what we've got going on here, we've got some outside interference, basically, is what's throwing us into that point where we feel like we should separate from whatever this situation is, but then we don't feel good about it. We don't feel good about it. And that's kind of my tip-off that maybe this isn't the best decision for us. Okay, because if you make a decision and you're not feeling good, and we had the Ace of Wands before, you're not in a good headspace when you're making the decision, chances are that decision is not going to be your most solid decision ever anyway. But then this afterwards saying, well, I'm not feeling good about this, this really tells me that this is really not the most solid decision we could make. We need to rely on our own intuition with this High Priestess in the Nine of Pentacles. We can't be listening to what other people have to say. Everybody has an opinion. Doesn't mean it's right just because they have it. We should have some confidence in our own selves and our own good judgment here. All right, so I would say best advice for us is to not pay attention to other people's advice. Let's listen to our own intuition on this. Okay, so, and we all have free will. So just because something shows up in a reading does not mean that we have to do that exact thing. We can change the outcome of things. So we don't actually have to do that or go through that. All right, so let's look at our next topic here, Taurus. Boopity-doo-doo-doo-doo. This could be a courthouse. I'm just happening to think of that. That's a government entity I didn't mention before. So we've got big business, or we have some kind of government entity here. Let's expand that out and see what we're looking at here. What you talking about here, Sacred Spirit? What do me and my fellow Tauruses need to know about this Tower card? By the way, for those of you who understand the Tower in Tarot, please be assured the Tower in the Lenormand deck does not mean anything like what the Tower in the Tarot deck means. And that's important to know. So we don't get panicked about that at all. All right, let's see what we have. Okay, to expand the Tower. And we have the Tower to expand the Tower. This is interesting. Big business or government. Something is definitely impacting our lives with that Tower card coming out here. I'm going to say, at the risk of sounding a little bit more political than I like to sound when I'm doing a tarot reading, I'm going to say that right now, with that King of Cups and that Four of Pentacles, that we are really liking the idea of holding back from doing anything, maybe with big business and with government. Or for some, it may be holding back from doing anything with big business, starting any contracts with them, or doing any kind of anything with them. Or this could be with a big company that we are happy to hold back our money from a big company. And this is all because of insecurity that's coming down the pike. And basically what we're trying to do with this, what we're trying to do by holding back from this big company or this government entity, what we're trying to do by holding back from that is we're basically trying to safeguard our own financial well-being with that Four of Pentacles right there. We're trying to avoid a Tower by holding back from interactions with big government or with big companies, maybe particular big companies. This is what seems like it makes sense to us. It feels right to us to hold back as a way of trying to shelter ourselves from this. What I'm hearing is this collapse that seems inevitable. Okay, whether that's a collapse in some kind of big business or whether we're looking at this as a government collapse. And this is going to be different for different ones of us. But, for some of us, this is going to be a big business. For others of us, this is going to be government. For a few, this is going to be both. Either way, the bottom line is we are definitely happy to hold back on our interactions or our spending with big business or the government because we're trying to save ourselves from a major shakeup. And that looks like the best way possible by the time we get to this point in the month. All right, so this is going to be about 2 weeks out from whenever I post this, and I'm putting this up on the 27th of May. So let's look at best advice or heads up around this idea of holding back to sort of save ourselves. Best advice or heads up. Now, this is interesting We have our second 4 here. This is a 4 of Cups rather than a 4 of Pentacles, though. 4 of Cups talks about looking at the silver lining. It talks about that there's some kind of disappointment, but we're looking at the silver lining rather than focusing on the disappointment. 6 of Wands talks about finding appreciation, things we can express appreciation for. And the Death card in reverse basically says that allows us to avoid this tower. I think for some of us, we are going to have people around us that, their world really gets shaken up. But we're able to hold ourselves out of that energy because we are focusing our energy on what are the opportunities here? What's the silver lining here? The attitude of gratitude. What can I appreciate? What's around me that I can actually, literally appreciate? And that's what holds this boundary around us, because Death, when she's in reverse, this talks about holding our ground. When she's right side up, she talks about making some kind of transformation. This is not making a transformation. This is holding our ground. This card would talk about a major shakeup, but with this card covering it, with our attitude of gratitude and looking for the silver lining, we're able to avoid that major shakeup. We're able to hold our ground with the Death card. Much better than other people around us are able to do because of our attitude. Okay. All right, so that's that. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right. Well, we had a couple of really heavy cards there so far. Let's see what comes up next. So this is our contract or our agreement, or this could just be, this is more longer type of communication. This is not like text messages back and forth. This can be like long emails or long letters. Sometimes, though, with that wax seal, it is an official document. So let's clarify a little bit more about what this actually is that we're looking at here for our topic. And remember, guys, these are unfolding over the next 28 days or so. So you may want to come back to this video and kind of check in, because there may be some things that come up here that you're like, I have no idea what this crazy woman is talking about. And in a couple of weeks, you might be like, oh my goodness, I know exactly what she's talking about. And it's going to give you a heads up to help you navigate the situation a little better than you would without having that heads up. Okay, so looking at the 27 card. Oh, now this is interesting, isn't it? These are the same 3 cards we just got. I know you guys saw me shuffling, but this time they're in reverse. Okay, so I think this is some kind of contract or some kind of agreement with this wax seal. I think what we have going on here, remember we said that appreciation, that gratitude, that gratefulness, that kept us so that we do not suffer the tower falling down. We're actually able to hold that at bay, so we don't really have any changes. This contract is what comes out of that good attitude, of us being very conscious of staying in a good attitude in spite of everything going on around us, in spite of what we see our friends going through, and our enemies for that matter, I'm hearing. In spite of all that, keeping a good attitude and keeping our appreciation and our attitude of gratitude going gets us into a situation where we have some kind of contract or agreement that is binding, that with this tower in reverse helps us to actually take advantage of any opportunities that came up. And remember, we were looking for the silver lining. We're taking advantage of any opportunities that came up whenever this tower came down. And so not only are we holding our ground and not losing ground like some of those people around us are, we're actually ending up in a better space because we were able to keep a better attitude no matter what was going on around us. Now, I will tell you, with this King of Cups, somebody does have a bad attitude towards us. Somebody resents the fact that we're having an easier time than them. with this Four of Pentacles, I think that it's interesting. I've got a couple things. First of all, we're putting out a lot of energy and effort to flip this tower over and basically to be in a better situation than what we were before the tower went down near us and we held our own. So we're putting energy and effort into getting ourselves into a better situation. We basically bypassed the tower crumbling, but because of that tower crumbling in our vicinity, we're now in a better situation. Okay. Also, though, this person who is not happy that and resents the idea that we are still doing well, with that Four of Pentacles in reverse right next to them, that person also is pouring energy and effort into that anger, into that jealousy. They may really be trolling us. They may be trying to shake our confidence. I don't think it's going to get to us. I think it's going to be an annoyance. Like a fly that gets into the house in the summertime is kind of annoying. It doesn't, it's not a terrible thing. It's not life-ending. It's just annoying. That's what this feels like. This person's resentments or jealousy feels like it's an annoyance. It's certainly not keeping us from up-leveling. Okay. And I think we've got some kind of contract or agreement that allows us to up-level. Now, let's look at our insights or our advice around this situation. Okay, Taurus. What do we have? My rising sign in Western astrology is Taurus. In Vedic, I'm an Aries, but in Western, I'm a Taurus. And then my sun sign, of course, is Scorpio. All right, so best advice or heads up? Look at that. Taurus. This is really interesting. But what I'm getting is that even though people around us are really, really struggling, multiple people around us are really, really struggling, we are not. And the reason that we are not is because we have this Seven of Wands showing up in reverse. First of all, we are getting rid of any kind of blockages to our abundance that we have in our subconscious or in our energy, if you want to say it that way. We're just not tolerating any blockages to our abundance anymore. At an energetic level, we are wiping those out. And when we wipe out those blockages at an energetic level, then the 3D has to follow that, because the 3D is just a shadow of what's going on energetically. So this is breakthrough that comes up here with the Empress. This talks about we are manifesting those things that we want. We're ignoring what everybody else is going through. We're ignoring the trouble. We're focusing on the abundance, the health, whatever it is that we want to manifest. We are focusing on that, and we are manifesting that. We're talking to the divine and saying, hey, it would be great if you could figure out a way to get me this. And then we're waiting for those intuitive hits that put us in the right place at the right time, talking to the right people to receive that. Two of Pentacles in reverse tells me that with our upgrade that we're doing here, even when everybody else is not doing that well, with our upgrade, we actually have choices about which path we want to take to reach that upgrade. And we have to choose one or the other, because we don't have the time, the energy, the effort, the resources to put into all the options in front of us. So with this Two of Pentacles, we're figuring out, okay, what's going to be my priority? What am I going to really focus on? And we're dropping anything that's going to take away from us having energy to put into whatever we're focused on. And we are manifesting abundance and an upgrade in a time when the world around us is mostly doing the opposite of that. Now, what does that imply? That implies, number one, that we're keeping our attitude in a good space, which most of us know how to do because we know law of attraction. But it also implies that if most everybody else is not doing so hot, but we are, we're going to be the inspiration for other people to follow so that they can start doing well also, or get back to doing well also. Or what? Or they're going to troll us. They're going to resent that we're doing well and they're not. Either way, we want to be ready for those reactions because we want to be helpful where we can be helpful, and we want to ignore the trolls wherever they are. We don't want to let them get to us because if they get in our head, they can pop this bubble that we're in. We're kind of in a magic manifesting bubble here. And so we're going to avoid any of their snarky, disparaging comments. We don't care about those. They're just jealous because they're not where we are and they wish they were. And we are going to be very consciously the inspiration and the example for other people to follow so that they can create their own abundance as well. Okay? But we have to be the example for that to happen. We can never be poor enough for everybody else to be wealthy. That just can't happen. It doesn't work like that. But if we can set the example that we're doing well, then other people can follow that example and they can have some hope in this world. And that's what people really need, is hope. They need hope and they need something good to look forward to. And we can be an inspiring person as long as we keep our attitude straight. All right, let's look at our next topic, our last topic. Now, isn't this interesting? We were just talking about being able to be inspiring to people around us, and here we have the possessive mama bear showing up. That's one of the meanings of this card. Let's see what this card is trying to say to us today. What is this card trying to say to us today, Spirit? What would you like us to know about this 15 card for my Taurus compadres, and myself? Beep-a-dee-dee-dee-dee. What do we have? King of Cups. 4 of Pentacles. And the Tower again. All right, so this is not our tower. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. This is not our tower. This is us being protective of people in our world who are trying to ward off disaster, just as we tried to ward off disaster. I mean, look at this. This is the same 3 cards again. Just their right side up again this time. Last time they were reversed. First time they were like this. All right. Talk about inspiring people. These people are going through something exactly like we've just gone through. And as the possessive mama bears or papa bears, however you want to take this, but as those possessive leadership personalities, possessive I'm saying, but I mean to say protective, as those protective leadership personalities, we just went through this. We literally just went through this like 2 weeks ago before this shows up. Now we're seeing the people that we care about. We're seeing some people that we care about go through the same thing. We're seeing these people who are very happy to hold back from a situation so that they can avoid a massive shakeup, a big tower. We're watching them do that. We may even be coaching them through that because this is a leadership. This is the card of a leader. Whether this is a protective boss or whether this is a possessive mama, either way, this is a leadership card. And so we already saw that we were inspiring other people to bounce back well in this last topic. Now we find ourselves with people around us who are confronting a shakeup. And so we can inspire them. This is what you do. You hold back from that energy of the shakeup. You don't let yourself get in that mix. You don't let yourself get in that fear. You're happy to hold back from it. And part of how you hold back from it is by being happy. Attitude is everything. Okay? So we may be coaching people through that. We're definitely watching some people go through this. We are probably inspiring them because we've already been through this. They're thinking, well, how did my Taurus friend handle that? Well, it seems like it worked well for them, so let me try to handle that in a good way as well. Let me try to model after them. That's what I'm seeing here. Okay, we're naturally going into this leadership, inspirational position, just naturally falling into it. Best advice or heads up around this situation. High Priestess in reverse. 9 of Pentacles. And the Queen of Swords. Now this is really interesting, Taurus, because High Priestess in reverse, I feel like what's going on here is our ability to tap in to information from the divine in a psychic way. This is growing with this card. When the High Priestess is in reverse, a lot of time this is actually growing. This is going to the next level. Many times when this card comes up in reverse, we're not even necessarily trying to get it to go to the next level. Just something happens that is undeniably indicating that we have become more open, whether we realize it or not, because things are happening to us in a psychic way that never have happened before, but they're exactly right on. Okay? So there's some growth here for us as far as in our ability to tap into divine information, even as we're watching these people go through something that very similar to what we just went through whenever this was our topic. 9 of Pentacles is really interesting to me when it comes up here, because what I'm feeling like even though we're finding it easier to tap in, I'm feeling like we are recognizing that we are in this place where we are the inspiration for these other people to help themselves by listening to us, by looking at us, by modeling after us. At the same time, with this 9 of Pentacles, we are wondering, but who do I ask? I have questions. Who do I ask my questions to? Who is out there that I can go to that can help me? I'm in this leadership position. I didn't volunteer or sign up for this. It just happened. Now I'm in this leadership position. Who is supposed to be the person that I can go to for questions? So it's just important to know that this is coming up. So we have our intuition is kicking off. It's expanding. Maybe that's giving us questions. Wait a second. What's happening here? Why is this going on? What does this mean? This thing that happened that I didn't ask for, that is obvious that my psychic abilities are kicking off. Why did this happen? What is this all about? What does this mean? We don't have the answers. We don't know who we can ask about this. Who is supposed to be our leader? Who is supposed to be our inspiration? That's the feeling that comes for me off of this card. And then we've got the Queen of Swords following, which I'm really glad to see the Queen of Swords following. It kind of balances out what we've been going through. Because the Queen of Swords says, okay, I'm going to handle this logically and sanely. I'm going to think this thing through. And I know that I have the answers within myself. I just have to look at this calmly. Maybe I even meditate. But I know that I can take care of business. I can step up to this leadership plate and I can be this person that the people around me are wanting me to be and expecting me to be and maybe even needing me to be. Once we calm down and we quit getting all frazzled about who am I supposed to ask questions to, once we calm down and we recognize those questions, all those answers are right within us. As soon as we have the questions, the answers are generated. All we have to do is switch our mindset so we can find them, put on our thinking caps like that Queen of Swords does. She's really great at taking care of business. And then we realize, oh, yeah, I've got this. I've got this. It's okay. And so we do a really good job of being that inspiration and being that protective person that helps and kind of holds other people's hands as they're going through the same situation that we just went through a couple of weeks ago. Okay. All right. I almost wonder if this isn't just for, no, it wouldn't be. But it kind of feels like it's definitely for people who have been around the bend enough, or they're old souls. And it may even be for mostly light workers. Maybe it's mostly light workers that watches my videos, because this really talks about stepping up to the plate and being that leader that shows people how to energetically handle situations so that they're not devastating after all. And that's the work of a light worker. So I don't know if all of you who watch my Taurus videos are actually literally light workers or not, but it does kind of make me wonder. You know? And as this channel grows, some of those dynamics may change a little bit. Or maybe my channel will grow and it'll just be paid attention to by light workers. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. All right, guys. Thank you very much for being here. This is what I have for us. Everyone have a fantastic month, and I'll see you back on the next video. Peace out.